Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
We are back with Randy, probably the only guest that I've ever had that is cool enough to like dance and get down to the music every time we end the show. So thank you, Randy. Randy Swaim joining us. Yes, he's our Marshall Goldsmith certified executive coach. Got to say he's a friend. Of course,
very much so. Yeah.
Movie star and founder of Coaching for Relevance. And he really is just an amazing soul who's here to help others make strides in their lives. So welcome back. How are you?
I'm doing good, and it's always a pleasure to be here, my friend. I totally value you, and it's always great to be on the show with you for sure.
Ditto, ditto. All about leadership with you. Tell us what you have in mind for us today, and we'll dive in.
Well, what I thought about was it's a couple of insights that we might have talked about a year and a half ago or something like that, but they're key insights, and I thought I would just sort of bring them out when you're talking about leading your team in an environment that is not just rote academic, that is not just whatever, but is unpredictable in some cases, may have some factors that you're not aware of and things of that nature. So just figured I'd share a couple of points with that and how leaders need to kind of think and be ready for leading their teams in a way that that might be more successful.
All right, Coach Randy, bring it on. Always love to hear how you inspire so many. Wisdom, by the way. I'm going to tell you what comes out of his mouth each and every show. Something totally new, something everything is so relevant what you say. And there's so much knowledge that you share with me, with your listeners, with those that you coach. And, it's just in his DNA as a pilot, as a man who has served. He's just you got a really unique background. And we'll get to that in a little bit. But really, let's start with the focus of today. Go ahead. What did you want to share?
Well, here's what it is. And by the way, thank you for what you said and just what you think. So I appreciate that. I value you so as a host. So, but yeah, what I thought I would bring in is just a little bit of an insight on aspects that sometimes people don't think, because one of the things that is so fairly routine today in managers and all that is they think strictly in superficial rote academic aspects because of maybe something somebody told them years ago or whatever, kind of thing. And one of the things that I'll mention on this is what I'm going to bring is it's my neuroscience aspect of it too, because it's going to kind of highlight one key area where the true, brain processing that comes from the frontal lobe. It's not just the cerebellum back here where it's just all, habit patterns and what I'm used to, which is what a lot of people have a tendency to do in today's world. But I tell you, when you're talking about, growing yourself to become a leader and to actually be promoted and to really become somebody amazing in your organization, if you're always going back to your habit patterns back there, you're not getting the job done and you're not preparing yourself. So what I'm going to mention here is this simple aspect of how you've got to really bring the mental processing that comes from your frontal lobe. And you know what? Sometimes when you talk about the frontal lobe of your brain and it's processing the given situation and the factors involved and things like that, guess what? Sometimes your brain has to kind of rewire and really develop what it really is aware of on the given situation on it. And so I'll just mention that. And one of the things that I'm thinking about here, I'll just kind of throw it out as a very simple thing, but it is a picture of what I'm talking about. Because a lot of it, and I've seen this in more managers than you can imagine, kind of thing, but a lot of times a manager, when they're going into a new situation or a new aspect, or their company is looking to kind of shape a little bit of this one aspect that they want to be involved in and all that kind of stuff, And what they do is a manager, a lot of times when they go into a given situation, their brain clicks into this or that aspect of it, you know, and you don't really want to go there, because guess what? When you go into those situations, a lot of people, kind of go into it and they say, okay, we'll do this or we can't do that. Okay, just walk away, or, whatever kind of thing. And that is not what is truly successful when you're dealing with those kind of situations. And the bottom line is, a lot of people, when they go into let's say, a slightly new environment or a new situation or whatever that they were not fully aware of, perhaps, they either say everything's got to fit what I say, or just nothing's right. We just got to walk away from this. That is the either or aspect of this, that as a leader and as a team, you never want to go to. And so the bottom line is, one of the things that I throw out, and you may have heard me say this a long time ago on the show, but when you're talking about situations like that are not road academic, that are not just what you was hoping it was be kind of thing to start out with kind of thing, guess what? It's not either or. But guess what? There's a whole spectrum of possibilities between those two. And the bottom line is, are you truly clear, and is your team truly clear on the extent of which you need to adapt? And you know what? The amount of adaptation that you may need may be just that much. It may be just a little bit. Not either or. And one of the things that you probably heard me say something similar to this, that in the fighter pilot or fighter jock background in the military, you know what? When you're in there in the midst of a fight, guess what? It's not just all this or all that. A lot of times, if you just adapt what you're doing a little bit, it brings real possibility on, because it didn't have to do this miraculous, crazy, awesome change to it.
Yep.
But just a little bit puts you in a sense of success. And you know what? That's not totally apart from when you're trying to move your team into a particular environment and into a particular aspect, a particular point of success. But if you think about it, as the leader, if your brain is only thinking about this or that, or just blame that for not just working out the way I wanted to, or whatever, guess what? You're not getting the job done, and you are not being a leader. And here's the thing: if you think about this, when you talk about leading your team in a similar environment or situational thing, guess what? What happens if you get sick and can't come to work, or you get in I don't know, a car accident or something, and you're in the hospital for a week? Have you truly worked and helped your team develop to the point where they can perform even until you get back?
Yeah.
And it's so amazing that you'd be surprised at how many managers I've seen that when they're talking to their team, all they do is they just tell them, do this, do that, do this, do that. Well, guess what?
Yeah.
When factors come on scene, it may throw that in the trash.
Yep.
It may not work exactly that way. And but there are some managers out there that are sort of focused on themselves, and their mindset of what they're supposed to do is just tell their team what to do, and shut off their brains and all this. No, you want their brains to be activated as well, because guess what?
Yeah.
Sometimes when you look at your team and you realize that different individuals on your team have slightly different backgrounds, and they have slightly different experiences. And guess what? one of them, maybe not all of them, one of them may gain an insight that nobody else on the team, including you, saw.
Yeah.
And you know what? If they bring that out and you and the whole team go, "Oh yeah, wow. Yeah, let's do that. That's good." Kind of thing. Amazing things can happen. But it is interesting that if you as somebody is trying to be a manager or leader of their team, if all you're doing is interacting in such a way that you're having them just shut their brain off and listen to you, or just do this or do that or whatever, or a lot of times, and anybody that's hearing me on this can probably tell me they've heard somebody do this before. I don't mean necessarily a leader at work, but just somebody that they were connected with in their life or whatever kind of thing. That there's a lot of people here that one of the dysfunctional aspects of this is when they do everything in their mind and everything in their power
Yep.
to lead it to a point where everybody that they're working with just disconnects it and throws it in the trash, and
Ah,
they stop thinking about it. And that is not what you want in your team, and it's also not being a true leader,
true.
because a true leader is developing your people. And that doesn't mean it's just to be exactly like you. But guess what? When you retire,
Yeah.
guess what? They may need to still be very successful when
Right.
situations come on scene that you would have never expected,
No.
and all of that aspect of it. So it really does bring a lot of this aspect of the leadership and the aspect of it. And like I say, it's not just all or nothing on this or that. No, it might be this or that, or maybe a whole set of options in between those two, kind of thing, that can bring the success out in the way that the team was looking for, and yet really make it happen in an amazing way. And so it's just something to think about that a lot of people don't fully have a sense about. But you know what? One of the key aspects of making that truly successful for your team is the mental processing that comes from the frontal lobe of your brain. And you know what? If you're not using that, guess what? You're not developing your team for radical success. And
No.
in fact, you're not developing yourself for
Mm-hmm.
radical success. And you're and so it's just an aspect of that from the neuroscience aspect of it, but also just the teamwork and the strategic awareness. Because
Mm-hmm.
what a lot of people do in not everybody, but what a lot of people do is that when they see certain factors come on scene, they're orienting their situational awareness to what they think it should be, what they would expect it to be. Well, guess what?
Yeah.
What if there's one factor that you didn't realize that is making that whole situation just a little bit different? And what are you going to do about it? How are you going to be aware of that? And so it's just these aspects of leadership, and really understanding the brain and the neuroscience and how that kind of gets involved. And is it getting involved in a good way for you, or is it totally dysfunctioning it for you? And um, and that's just something that leaders need to think about, and to gain insights on that and gain awareness of it. Because here's the thing: when you have a dramatic and interesting situation that's coming on scene, guess what? That is part of true situational awareness.
No.
If you're not aware of the brain power and of the factors that are involved, and what are some of the situations what are some of the aspects that I need to decide that I didn't think about? What are some of those aspects of it? Guess what? All of that is a true part of situational awareness. And what do I need to do to respond? If it's just going with rote academic things, guess what? That's not just the solution. I mean, it may cause you not to be, thrown out of the company or anything like that, but but the bottom line, it may not get you the success you're truly looking for. And so it's just something to think about when you're talking about this whole aspect of, true situational awareness, your true leadership, your neuroscience, the ability to truly process the factors and to have clarity in your team, not just you, but in your team about the real success application, and realize that it's not just this or that. Guess what? It could be almost anything in that uh, uh, kind of scan there that may be applicable that you didn't notice, that you didn't think about. If going into an unexpected situation, if all you're thinking about is yes or no, you're not really getting the job done. But having some of those conversations and having some of those aspects where you can, build that awareness in your people, but also in you. And it doesn't mean just giving them rote answers. No, it's getting them to think where they are processing
Yep.
also. And and uh, and so it's just something to think about that a lot of people don't really realize and stuff. So, but it's a real key aspect, like I say, that brings this organizational maneuverability aspect where like not everything is rote academic, not everything is rote expected, kind of thing. And also the neuroscience, the aspect of neuro. In fact, I'm posting on my social media an interview that I had with the NPN hub over in Europe. That's about 2 weeks ago, and that's going to be posted tomorrow morning. But it goes into this because what he wanted me to focus on as he interviewed me was the aspect of organizational maneuverability and neuroscience. And you know what? When you're leading your team, it's not just going to rote academic answers so you can pat yourself on the back. It's really understanding the truth and the factors and the real aspects uh, that are there that can make the right decisions for what you're trying to accomplish in an unpredictable, unexpected situation where it doesn't just meet rote academic things. And it's just an aspect of it when people are thinking about this. It's not just either or. It's not just pick this or that. No, it's having real clarity on how you need to move in and adapt. Because here's the thing, a lot of people have a tendency to think, when I go into this situation, we're going to do this, and if it gets stressful, there's basically two ways that people tend to think in today's world. One is by telling your people, well, keep going, fight it, yeah, keep going, and all this kind of stuff. And the other one is, well, here, just throw that away. Just
Yeah,
walk away
right.
from that and we'll go over here. Guess what? Those two are not necessarily the answers, because when you're going into that situation, guess what? Like I mentioned, a kind of an analogy with the fighter jet kind of thing. Guess what? If if your adaptability here is to adapt
Yes.
at just 10 degrees,
Yeah.
guess what? You may turn that into success that quick. And so it's just something to think about that a lot of people don't think about. It's not just the superficial dictating and controlling and blaming and all this sort of stuff, but it's truly developing your people and yourself so that you can get your mental processing and gain real total clarity, not just on the excuses, but on the true picture of success and what you can do to get there. And sometimes, guess what? Just adapting that about 10 degrees may be all that you need to do, as opposed to just throw it in the trash and walk away from it kind of thing. And so, and understand what those factors are. And when you make that 10-degree position adaptation, if you do that, and of course, I'm just kind of using a number there, but if you make that little sort of 10-degree adaptation, guess what? Other factors may tweak.
Yep.
But when you're talking about true situational awareness, is your brain and your mind and your processing clear
Yeah.
enough that when a new factor comes on, you know what you're going to do, and your team knows what they're going to do. Guess what? If you're really building that in your team, and that's not just telling them what to do, that is growing you and your team together. If you, to the extent that you're truly doing that, guess what? You can reach radical success. And there's been a couple of times in my life journey where I didn't realize it at the time, but the way I did it a little bit different than most people really stood out to some managers that came up and complimented me and everything. And so it's just something to think about when you understand this aspect of the organizational maneuverability, where not everything is rote academic, the neuroscience, the ability of real processing and understanding, and how that's all aligned with situational awareness and making the right choices for radical success. So just something to think about on that a lot of people don't think about.
Wow. I don't know where this comes from. Genius mind. Always something insightful that we talk about, we walk away with. But really, I mean, you are a true. Were you born like this? Were you born a leader? Do you think some people have to be born leaders, or is it possible to learn? It doesn't have to be an innate skill.
Well, I'll tell you what, both can be true, but I will say this just to answer your short question. I don't think I was born this way, although I will say this that and this is in my autobiography, that I think the way that that my youth grew up, and as I became an adult from a challenging, sort of family background a little bit, um, I learned so much because what I
Yeah.
did is I knew of the people that were dysfunctional, uh, that I'd been aware of, and I
Yeah.
chose to do things quite a bit different. Now, do I think that that was probably part of me when I was born? Probably, but I didn't know how to view it, to visualize it, to experience it, to create it, and to build it within me. But guess what? In the first probably 15 years of my adult life, uh, I think that all happened, and a lot of that is in my autobiography a little bit. It's not so much just talking about people negatively, but it's just what I learned. And a lot of that learning was not from any one person generally. 9 times out of 10, it was from the experience that I had. And in some cases, how I chose to do certain things and the reaction that some professional people had when they experienced what I did. And and I think that made a huge difference. So it's this awareness, and of course the certification of a master level neuroplastician, plus my MBA degree and my military retirement, and all I'm doing over at the to train and certify jet pilots and things like that. Guess what? And of course with podcast business news network and just you and other people that I've talked to here, I think a lot of that has been developed in me big time, and so I'm uh, appreciative of that. No two ways about it. And some of that's going to be in the Hollywood movie documentary that's getting close to, I think, coming out and being published. And so yeah, it's just been part of my story of what I've learned, uh, what I've seen in some ways that I could do things differently because of something that I did way back when, kind of thing, and little things that I learned from that and how I became different. And so I think that's a big part of that.
Beautifully said. Thank you so much. And when, by you mentioned, I got to mention the book. Where can we find the book? And also, let's talk a little bit about what's happening with the movie. Where can we see it? When is it out? Where? Explain that one.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm working on that
Good.
with the AEMG folks. But the autobiography is on Amazon, so you can click on
Yep.
Amazon and go to it. The title is "Bring Freedom to Potential," and the people that have read it have made amazing comments about my story and everything, and so I'm a little bit amazed about that in a positive way. But also with the movie, I'm waiting for the AEMG folks, the people that you guys kind of work together with and stuff. I know, I think it's getting close. to being ready to go. And I will say this, that once it's published, it's my understanding that it's going to go on HBO and Netflix and a lot of other places, and it's going to be available for anybody that wants to get it and purchase it and stuff. So I'm humbled at that, and I'm glad that my story, even some of my mistakes in my life that I could have and should have done better, and everything. I'm amazed at my story, and I'm amazed at just how it's all happened. But humbled, and I'll tell you, if I I don't, I think you probably heard me say this before, Joe, my friend, but 20 years after I take my last breath, it doesn't really bother me if people don't remember my name. But what I totally want is that people remember this movie that they saw or this book that they read, and they got a lot of insights out of it, and it made them different. Yeah. It made them different, better, more successful, and all of that. Because it's, I'm just sort of amazed at just some of the aspects of it. So, yeah, I appreciate it very much, and it's always a pleasure being on with you. It really is.
Absolutely. Thank you again. And let's tell us the website, Facebook page. How do we find you?
Okay. If you go to the website, which is coachingforrelevance.com, and on the front page there, you'll see some pages and all. But at the very bottom of it, there's an aspect where it has my my email on it, and it also has my cell phone. So if somebody wants to call, by the way, I don't do sales calls. If somebody has a need of something, yeah, we'll come up with something, no details about it. But if they call me, they don't have to think I'm just going to constantly be trying to sell them on stuff. If they just want to have a chat and a conversation, we'll do that.
You're so good. All right. Thank you so much, Randy. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we will chat soon. Thank you so much.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Let's go inside the mind of a 10-year-old.
I should have worn those earrings today. I like those earrings. Gabby has those awesome earrings. I need to ask her where she got those, but that's just what she would want me to do. I'll have Michaela ask her for me.
Buckle up, Sarah.
Yeah, but then Michaela will be like, why don't you just ask her yourself? That's just like Michaela.
Sarah, buckle up.
Michaela's such a great name. I wish I was called Michaela. There's like a dozen Sarahs in my class.
Hey, we're not hitting the road until you buckle up, honey.
Oh yeah, seatbelt. I forget sometimes because my brain is like busy, you know? I wonder if there's pizza at school today.
Sometimes it can be tough to get through to your kids, but it's not impossible. Always make sure they're wearing their seatbelts, even on short drives. Remember, you have the keys, you have the power. Never give up until they buckle up. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council. Visit safercar.gov/kidsbuckleup for more information.